Alright guys, before we start compounding in the hood, we want to discuss the places in the hood that are usable. Remember, we have to go at least 6 inches in. So if you'll notice, we've taped off this area, so you've got to stay inside this brown tape line. We want to stay also 6 inches in from the right and from the left side of the hood. And from our filter in the back, we need at least a 3-inch area that's taped off there. So you'll see it really does decrease the amount of space that we have in the hood that is usable. We go from this whole space down to this little bitty square. So this is your usable area to compound within this hood. So we're going to start off today talking about pressures. We're going to put our supplies in our hood. And then remember, before we start compounding, we do want to spray our hands with alcohol again. After my hands are dry, I'm going to remove the dust cover from the top of my vial. Remember that this is not keeping this sterile. This just protects it from large particles, so it always has to be clean. I'm going to start a trash pile in my front right-hand corner of the hood. Then I'm going to take an alcohol swab and swab it 3 times in the same direction. Once you have cleaned the item or opened a sterile item, you want to make sure that the airflow always has access to that clean and sterile site. Now we're going to put together our syringe. So we carefully open our syringe, and once it comes out of the package, we have to worry about our sterile sites. Remember that the whole plunger and the top of this syringe is a sterile site. So we want to make sure that we have airflow to those sites, to this at all times. So I only need 1 needle for this exercise. So I'm going to take a needle, carefully open it, because when this pink part that connects to your syringe hits the air, we want to make sure it's also within your sterile airflow field. So you're going to twist that together, and then the wrapper will go into your trash pile. You want to remove the cap. We do scoop the caps back on later on, so we're going to make sure we keep our cap in an area that it still has airflow to it in case we need to reuse it. The top of my vial is now dry. So we're going to start with negative pressure. I have no air in my syringe, and I'm going to try to pull back. We'll try 15 mils of fluid. So at first you're going to go in 45 to 90, and then we're going to flip our syringe so that we don't block airflow to any of our critical sites. The best method to do this is the rainbow method. As you see, when I turn, I'm never losing access to these sites and the airflow. Once I get my syringe upright, I'm going to take 2 fingers and place around the top of my vial, and then I use the other 2 and my thumb to stabilize my syringe. Then I'm going to use the other hand, and I'll stabilize it on the bottom of the syringe to pull back the plunger. As I pull back 15 mils, something you'll notice, it just wants to suck it back into the vial. That is extreme negative pressure. It's very hard to get out the amount of fluid you need with that much negative pressure, and it's very easy to contaminate because when you're pulling on the bottom of the syringe, you're likely to touch the barrel. That's why we don't want to do absolutely no air exchange for fluid in the vial. So for the next one, I'm going to pull back air in my vial, into my syringe, I'm sorry. So I've got 15 mils of air here. What I'm going to do is go into my vial the right way, And I'm just going to push all this air into my vial. When you push all your air into your vial all at once, it causes an extreme positive pressure in this vial. It weakens the area around the needle, and it's going to start to drip out around your needle, causing contamination and loss of product. So if I try to get 15 mils or 5 mils out, go back to my C method, it keeps pushing back, trying to make me do more than 5. Well, we're going to say no, we just want 5. So I'm going to pull my vial off at my 5. And what happened? It squirted fluid all over my hood. So now I have a mess in my hood, and even with all that pressure, I still got to 5.5, more than I actually needed. So what I'm going to do now is go back into my vial to equalize the pressure. You never want positive pressure, especially if you're compounding hazardous drugs such as chemotherapy, because if this sprays, it's very likely to aerosolize, get into the flow of the filter, and it's going to go straight at your face. You don't want to ever get any of the stuff into your face. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of all that fluid that I had in there. And I'm going to let my syringe naturally choose an equilibrium point. We're almost there. So I'm going to flip it back over, rainbow style, without blocking my airflow. And I have about 14 mils. So I've got about 14 mils of air. I'm going to go ahead and try to pull out 15 mils of fluid because it's very close to the same amount. I always pull back first and pull fluid into my vial so as to not cause positive pressure in my vial at any point. And then I'll let a little air go in, pull back, back and forth. This is the milking method. It's the best method to use to get the volume you need without causing pressure issues. There we go. I easily pulled up 15 mils with my 14 mils of air. I didn't spray, and I didn't contaminate or touch any of my critical sites. So now what I want to do is I want to scoop this needle back on. So I'm going to turn my cap sideways in the hood, and I'm going to move this hand out of the way. When we scoop, we're going to make sure and keep our hands away from this needle. These needles are very thick and sharp, and they can easily go through and puncture that cap. So you're going to slide your needle all the way in. Once it's up to the pink part, you can take your fingers, place them on either side of the back part, and snap it on. That's how you keep your needle on. So since we're just dealing with saline today, I'm going to put my saline into my trash pile, or sterile water, I'm sorry. And then I'm going to start a new trash pile with my needles. You never want to get your needles into your regular trash pile because they're going to be disposed of in the sharps. So we don't want them to accidentally end up in our regular trash. So we'll say I'm done compounding with this stuff for the day. So I'm going to take all my items that go into a trash can, and I'm going to throw them in the trash. Then I'm going to take my little needle and throw it into the sharps. Now, if I'm going to keep compounding, I've got to clean up the mess I made when I had that positive pressure. So what I'm going to do is take some gauze, set it in my hood. I didn't contaminate the sides or the top of my hood, so I'm just going to clean this surface real quick. And then don't forget, we always have to spray our hands with alcohol when we leave the hood. Once my hands are dry, I'm going to start at the back of the hood, overlapping, and I'm going to keep these supplies in the hood because they're still clean. What you do is you're going to lift them up with the opposite hand, and then once you clean past that spot, just set them right back where they were. Now I'm ready to continue compounding.